Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here with another video, and this one's going to be a little bit different to some of the stuff that I've done recently. Yes, I'm going to be talking about PEA, ESL, WISA, all of that stuff, but this is going to be reporting. This is me putting out facts I think you guys need to know into the public domain. All of this information has come from several anonymous sources. I've had it verified. But I'm in a bit of a quandary because obviously usually I write this stuff up, but I don't have a publication. I don't write for anybody currently. So even though I am a journalist, what's the best thing to do to get that information out there? Well, it feels to me the best thing to do is to record this video and get it out into the public domain so you guys can know what's going on. Now, a lot of people have been, oh, your last few videos about PEA, you're so heavily biased. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking facts and then giving my opinion about them. If you can't understand why I would be biased to my own opinion, then you probably shouldn't be watching anything on my channel ultimately, because if you're unable to discern between reportage, editorializing, you know, if you can't make those mental leaps, then ultimately you're going to have a very tough time disseminating information. But this, as I said, I'm going to keep the editorializing down to a minimum. I just want to present this information. I will give additional context to why things are significant, but these are all important to know because I guess up until this point, people might think that I think PEA is the devil. I saw a lot of people say, oh, you've always hated Reginald, and that's just, again, not true. Outside of maybe like 3 interactions and me writing an article about him. I think I've written 2 articles. One where I said I think he's a bit of a tyrant in how he runs his team. I think that's been bore out over time. And the second article was basically saying I don't think anyone should ever blacklist media for being critical about your organization, which I stand by as well. I don't think those are like particularly damning things to say about anybody, but whatever. But, you know, of course, fans will always create a fiction to suit their fandom. That's generally how it works. So anyway, I don't think PEA is the devil. In fact, collectively, I understand exactly why that group of owners are doing what they're doing now, because we can see shifts in market forces, different types of people coming into the scene, different types of media element coming into esports, and ultimately this was the right play for them if they wanted to get control of North America and North American esports, particularly the Counter-Strike side of things. This was the right thing for them to do. But here's the thing, I don't give a fuck about what's right for them, I give a fuck about what's right for esports. That's why I'm being critical of them, and certainly putting a large component of esports into the control of a small select few people who will only operate in their own interests, particularly financial interests. That's not good for what we're doing here. That's not good for the industry. That's why I'm criticizing it. It's not that I don't understand it. It's not that I don't even understand why they've been pushed into doing this. Completely understand it. It's very straightforward if you know all the working parts. Now, with all of that said and done, let's get into the facts. And again, as I said, these are things that were told to me by sources who wish to remain anonymous. So let's start by talking about PEA and PGL. Now, I don't think it's a particularly well-kept secret at this point, but PGL, the organization that have been hired to effectively run the league for PEA. Now, that's interesting in and of itself because a large part of what PEA were complaining about was that they wanted American jobs to be going to American people, and they wanted American esports organizations to run American esports. Yet the first thing they did was they contacted PGL, who are a very much a European organization, and contracted them to, well, or rather said, would you be interested in running our league for us as a white label thing? And that was the agreement that they came to. Now, this happened in July this year. This happened in sorry, not this year, because it's 2015 now, but July 2016. So July 2016 was when they were initially contacted. So what do we know from this? We know, first of all, that PEA had been planning this particular move for a long time. And we also, when they say, oh, we're just kind of reacting to things that have just come up, it's not true. And we also know that they are simply interested in getting kind of a value for money. And what I mean by that is they didn't, despite projecting as if they have all this financial power and financial clout, they didn't build a studio in North America. They aren't going to be flying talent to North America. They're going to run it from Bucharest. They're going to run an existing studio with existing relationships with talent. And that, to me, would suggest that maybe they don't have as much money as they're fronting, or certainly there will be a cause for concern there. I mean, if PEA is saying, well, why wouldn't you sign with us exclusively? It's more money. Well, why haven't you built an American studio? If you're going to be a long-term project, why are you hiring a white label studio solution? Why are you doing that? Why aren't you building something? Why aren't you hiring people? That's what long-term companies do. I mean, hell, that's what some short-term companies do, and it goes backwards and they have to file for bankruptcy. So it doesn't, there's not that ring of, oh, this is a long-term project. Now, also, the agreement that they struck in July was obviously contractual. So PGL and PEA said, yeah, let's do this. Let's make this league happen. We'll handle the broadcast and the talent. So PGL, PEA will handle the teams. And yet they've been stalling signing the agreement, and they've been stalling it for some time. Now, my sources tell me PGL have said to PEA, you have a deadline to sign, and they've missed that deadline apparently. So whether or not it'll still go ahead, as of recording this video, the deadline has been missed. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they're able to get an extension or renegotiate it. Certainly, I can't think of any alternatives that PEA could turn to, especially given that I think we can take a very strong guess at talent and who's going to be involved in the league. Obviously, PGL, they're the group that really helped launch Henry G. and Sadikist's career. So I think it's a given that Henry G. and Sadikist will be the commentators, the primary commentators for that league. Now, this is where ESL enter into the equation, and this just shows you how dirty it's getting, and why I wanted to be clear at the start. I don't just think that PEA going to PGL is like a bad move or anything like that. You know, it's just a little bit strange within the context of what they're saying, and I don't think PEA are entirely the bad guys here, because upon when PGL went out to hire talent, they wanted Machine to host it. Now, you'll know that obviously Machine has gone independent. Machine has left ESL after a long time there, but they ended on reasonably good terms. It's just better for Machine right now. It's better for a lot of talent, in my opinion. If you're top-tier talent and you can get jobs and you can get gigs, it's better to be independent right now rather than work for a company, have them basically say what events you can and can't do, and take a cut of the money if you do work an event that isn't theirs. That's really gross, and I know lots of talent have undergone that agreement, and sometimes it's as high as like 50% of the fee you get from the organization you go and do another event for goes in the pocket of the company that just happens to hire you. So you're allowed to freelance, but at a cost. So you're better off independently. Now, what happened here was Machine was approached by PEA to do this hosting gig, and he's very interested. Machine's very hot right now. He's certainly garnering a lot of attention because he's doing fine work. Now, ESL's response to that was to basically say to Machine, if you take the PEA job, we will strongly consider never hiring you again for an ESL event. So that's some dirty tricks and fuckery that's going on. Now, I don't know what the upshot is. Me and Alex haven't talked. I certainly hope he's not going to be strong-armed and influenced in that sense. But this just shows the level we're at here. The battle isn't about PEA and exclusivity. The battle is between PEA and ESL and WISA by extension. So there's a lot of drama going on. Now, it's strange because we already know that PEA aren't an exclusive league in the traditional sense, because as long as an organization, a team, is willing to pay them money like ECS did, they will happily compete in their events. Now, ESL, and I talked about this on Unfiltered, but a lot of you might have missed it. ESL also, in addition to strong-arming talent and saying, hey, we don't want you to do PEA events, they've also doubled down. So here's what we do know. That PEA wanted to do other games. You'll have seen in their letters, they're saying, hey, we don't even have to do a CS division. So what they've looked at are other games and other potential games. Now, here's something that I mentioned on Unfiltered. PEA reached out to Blizzard, and they basically said, we are going to grant ESL a tournament license, but we will not grant PEA a tournament license. And ESL have announced lots of Blizzard events lined up for IEM, for everything. That's part of the long ongoing relationship between ESL and Blizzard. Now, some people are saying to me, oh, that's a Blizzard decision that's been arrived at independently. Other people are saying to me, ESL have basically said to Blizzard, come on, don't back up PEA because we know where that's going. So they're not allowed to have official tournaments run under the PEA banner. That is Blizzard's stance so far. Meanwhile, ESL are announcing record Hearthstone tournaments, and no doubt there'll be Overwatch stuff around the corner. So that is, again, another example of ESL really pushing back against PEA. Now, so one thing that happened behind the scenes that didn't get reported on, I don't know why journalists didn't pick this up, because a lot of players were talking about it, and I'm sure it must have got back to some journalists, was just before PEA started pushing teams to be exclusive. In fact, some PEA teams have told me this is a result of what ESL were trying to do. WISA had a meeting with some of their member teams, and WISA had said, look, would you, they didn't demand it, they said, would you go exclusive with us in 2017? Would you do it? And all the teams were like, nah, fuck you, because there's plenty of money to be made on an open circuit. Now, it turns out that MTG events in CS are going to make up, by my calculations, 80%, 82%, I think, of CSGO events in 2017. That's MTG, the parent company that owns ESL, DreamHack, ESEA. That's a lot. That's like 37 weeks of Counter-Strike in 2017. Meanwhile, everyone else is kind of having to work around them because they don't want to cause any clashes, especially if you're a smaller company. It's another reason PEA are very vocal about wanting to be exclusive. They are trying to diminish that power base. So they, and I'm told Ralph Reichart himself asked this question of the members of the WISA board and said, would you be willing to go exclusive in 2017? And they just got laughed at, basically. They were like, no, we're not going to do it. Actually, it's worse for us to do it. And they backed the fuck off. Now, as a result of PEA reacting to that and demanding that now you have to go exclusive with PEA, we sort of said, if you, and again, this has been told to me by multiple sources, starting January the 1st, 2018, WISA teams, if you're in WISA, you must be exclusive to WISA events only. End of discussion. So you've got 1 year to figure it out, make your money, try out other events. But if by next year, by 2018, you haven't come to a decision, or you're not willing to commit to us full time, you're dropped. That's what's going on. So that, to me, is something that's going on under the radar. While we're all talking about PEA and what they're doing, we're not focusing on WISA and ESL, which, lest we forget, they were the company that originally tried to create an exclusivity league. They were the company that got these North American people round a table in the first place. I've already told you about some of the ridiculous things Reginald said and how they used to have 2 sets of meetings. But the point was, if the money had been there, there wouldn't be a PEA. The North American owners would have just gone in with WISA, and it truly would be a World Esports Association and not some of Europe. And that's before we get into this Astralis League, which I'm going to do another video on. And we're calling it the Astralis League. I think we can now see it's the Arfresh League. And I actually messaged them And they were like, oh, yeah, we'll have to talk and catch up soon. I've got flu. And then all of a sudden they announced what was being kept a secret, actually, that there was a financial interest between all four of those teams, which is what I was going to unveil. So they kind of beat me to the punch. I guess once Richard Lewis sends you a message, people figure out he's digging for stuff. That's the curse these days. So anyway, so by 2018, WISA and now saying it's WISA only. And when you consider what I just said about them having 82% of weeks, 82% of the Counter-Strike year in 2017, there's a chance that might get bigger. There's a chance that ESL might expand. So we are headed towards a very big clash. And this is what PEA is really about. It's about pushing back on MTG's attempt to control the market. And, you know, it's interesting because ESL, you know, they it's like I said, I sympathize with the players on this because ESL are a known quantity. We know they pay. We know they have the relationships. We know they have the ties. We know they've, can get their things up on Twitch and everything else. PEA, this is all new territory for them. That's why I understand a player not wanting to go exclusive with an unknown quantity. But it's not like ESL are perfect. And certainly this MTG conglomerate, this is one of the original monopoly attempts we've seen in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. A lot of people are edgy about it. A lot of people don't really trust ESL to have the best interests of esports at heart. A lot of people believe that they have the best interests of ESL at heart and little else. So there you have it. I think all of these facts are definitely worth putting out there. I'm hoping this video is going to go up on my YouTube channel and journalists are going to start digging and reporting on what I'm saying, because this is all verified. This is I've verified it. I'm vouching for the contents of this video. I'm not editorializing. I'm not giving my opinion. These are facts that need to be known to the community. So, there's more details that I'm going to be able to give. I'm going to do a video breaking down just how much MTG of esports, CS esports, MTG is likely to control in 2017 based on the calendars I've been sent. But ultimately, this is why PEA are doing what they're doing. This is why PGL are happy to work with PEA, and after what happened with ESL, and the observing and everything else, it was a bit of a fragile alliance to begin with. This is why they're happy to work with them. But right now, the whole thing's a fucking shit show. Everyone is trying to vie for position. Talent is getting squeezed. Players are getting squeezed. And this is basically two big groups of people that have their own interests at heart, and people are getting squeezed in the middle. And that's why I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. Anyway, I'm going to have a lot more videos about this coming in over the next few days. I think it's important just to not make this too long and just leave it as it is. But thanks a lot for watching, and definitely we'll see you on the next one. Take care.